How are we going, ladies and gentlemen? Today I'm just going to do a quick little carve and polish on this little guy here. So it's a little shell fragment, but you can see here it's got kind of two color bars. One really dead straight one here that's pretty bright, but I'm also really interested in the one just up over here. It's got some jigsaw pattern in it, which is one of my favorite patterns in Opal, and you can see it there. It's got some interesting features. So we're going to try to get both of these most likely, and if the top one doesn't work out, we'll grind back to that broad flash kind of pattern just underneath there. It's a bit green. I want the red and orange, so we're going to aim for that top one. So because of that, this is going to be the top. You can't see it much on the other side here, but just through the crust you can see a little glimpse of it, and through the top here you can see a tiny corner of it. So this is what it looks like at the start, and we're going to carve away and see what we end up with. It should be a fairly nice stone. I might give it a quick weigh now actually. Now ignore all the polishing powder that's been splattered over the front of my scales. I need to give that a clean, but there we go. It's a bit over 1.5 carats. So we'll see what we end up with. Let's get into it. So this is it starting out. Pretty rough. You can see underwater that the colour does jump through a little bit better. You can see it through the crust, but we get out the 240 grit sintered diamond. There's a little bit of crust, so I didn't want to start off with the 600 grit. Thought I'd start off with the red. And we just take off the mud, nice and soft. It's the crusty bit underneath the mud that's always the tough part. But this was pretty soft material, so not too bad. You can already see along that edge there that there's a little bit of yellow coming through. So it's always good to see straight away. So just getting rid of the mud. You can see that there was a little bit of a ledge. I didn't actually see that when I was examining the rough at the start. There's a little bit of a ledge between two sections of it. So it's a little bit annoying. We have to take that ledge down to get the face nice and smooth. And you can see here, we're only just through and we're already seeing the color come through. And that is what you want. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of sand, but most of this clears out pretty well. And yeah, just working the other side of that little ledge, but we will get rid of that pretty quickly. At this point I just wanted to see what was along the side. A little bit of a chip there. Always got to be careful with chips on the 240 grit when you're working the sides. I don't like to do it too much. The 240 is quite aggressive. And now we're really seeing the colour on that side, so beautiful. Wall-to-wall colour on this one. Just want to get rid of the weirdly jagged little bits and pieces. We're doing a little bit of shaping with the 240 grit, but we're not focusing on shaping. We're just focusing on getting rid of the crust. Too much shaping with the 240 means you're going to end up with too many chips and too many really deep scratches. The 240 is quite a deep scratching bit, even though it's just one step before the 600. It is very aggressive, but that makes it perfect for getting rid of this ledge, so we're going to get rid of that quickly. And any last little bits of sand. We don't want to go too deep, so if you're working on a similar stone at home, don't worry about getting rid of every little inclusion with the 240 grit. Just leave that for the 600 grit. The 240 is quite aggressive. A good stone fumble. It wouldn't be opal carving without a little bit of a fumble. And you can see here I'm really toying with the idea of getting rid of more of that sand, but also thinking about leaving a lot of it behind for the final sintered diamond. Which is what we do now. Switching over, 600. So all we did was got rid of the crust and the ledge, and now we're onto the old yellow 600s. This is where we want to get our shaping done. And spoiler alert, I don't actually get the shaping done on this one, and I'll let you guys decide what to do with it, because the stone is a little bit weird and my brain was scrambled eggs after work today. So I didn't actually have it in me to make a decision, and it's a lot easier to make someone else make the decision. And I'll just go with that, so more on that at the end of the video. But here we're just tidying up the edges, making sure we've got it nice and rounded. I'll be working on the edges, like the front facing edges as well, We don't want to snag a nova on that. But all in all, there's quite a bit of colour coming through. Far more than I expected actually. The patterns I expected to see were there, so there's a little bit of a jigsaw pattern up in the top part there, and then more of a broad flash from that second colour bar below in triangle bottom part. I'm not a huge fan of this shape I normally like really odd shapes when I'm carving, but this one just didn't strike me. So I'll talk about that a bit after we finish the carving part. And yeah, you can see it's a beautiful rub at this stage. And I'm just focusing on rounding off those points. Getting rid of a little bit of that sandy bit, just to make sure that the sand isn't in there and destabilizing the stone. The last thing you want is sand destabilizing your stone at the end. I've heard way too many horror stories on people trying to set stones with a little bit of a sandy inclusion and it just crumbling through that sandy inclusion. And here I'm just delicately touching the face. You just want to wear down some of those 240 grit sintered diamond cutting marks, but we're already on the color bar, so we don't want to be carving in too much more. And now I'm just working those edges just to keep the novas safe. Nothing worse than gouging out your novas. A sharp edge on an opal is like a razor blade to those novas. It will absolutely chew them up and leave lines, and those lines can get really annoying when you're trying to polish with your nova points later on in life. So try to keep them as healthy as possible. Not losing any colour working the face. Edges are now no longer jagged. You can see I'm rubbing my finger up against it every now and then. And yeah, just little minor shaping changes, little bit of a doming. Well, I was expecting colour, but I didn't actually expect this much colour. So it's actually thrown me off a little bit, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with it now. So I'm actually going to leave it up to you guys. I'll just give you a couple ideas. So I'm seeing in this section here, it's very much that jigsaw pattern. So the jigsaw pattern's lying across that top bit, and I'm seeing a little bit of an oval, a nice little oval shape just down here. So that's currently what I'm leaning towards. There's a bit of a triangle over here, but you can see there's two little pot spots right there. If I can get the green to flash over it. Actually, it's kind of disguising it, but there's two little pot spots over there, which I'm not overly keen on. I could slice through them and round that off, and then I might end up with two triangles basically and an oval. But really, the main piece that I like is just down here. So I don't know. You guys can have a bit of a vote in the comments, and we'll see what you come up with, and I'll probably go with whatever you guys want. So trying to make the right decision for me, but yeah, I trust you guys. You've seen me carve a fair few stones now. Normally I would like to keep it as a bit of a weird shape, but this is a weird shape that I'm not that overly keen on. And yeah, because of that, I see very much, it's almost an oval outlined by this green flash if I can get it going in the right direction. So cutting it off right where that blue flash comes through, and then maybe two triangles out of the last piece. I don't know. It's all colour, so no matter what you do with it, it's going to end up pretty good. So by all means, let me know what you guys think, and we'll bring it back and have another crack. If you look there, that's the other option actually, to cut straight through that jigsaw. Please don't vote for that. But to cut straight through that jigsaw and go for that big rolling flash bar of orange/green, depending on the angle you go for. There you go. Green, orange. So that would also be interesting, but then you start getting very thin up this end and very thick up this end. I wouldn't advise it. I think we settle for this beautiful patch of colour over here and try to make the most out of that bottom edge, that bottom triangle with the pot dots, which don't look like they're going to come out unfortunately, because that's where the colour kind of peters out right on that corner. The other option is we just forget about this and we just carve this down to the oval or teardrop. But like I said, you guys have a bit of a crack and let me know what you think, and we'll make a decision from there. So Until then, see you in the next one.